Hi, this is Mark from graduatejobtips.com, and I'm here with a very special guest who's actually come all the way over from Australia. She's here for a few months, so I've managed to get a little bit of her time. It's Marriane Cantwell, and she's from free-range-humans.com. Marriane has done something that I suppose a lot of people will probably do in the future, and that is break the shackles of the 9-to-5 job and actually gone it alone. And she now has a lifestyle which is, allows her to be completely mobile, travel the world, and obviously has a career to go with that. And we're going to find out a little bit more about her lifestyle and what she does, and also more about the blog that she's got going. So thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Just to start off with, your blog or website, free-range-humans.com, what does that represent? What's it about?
Free Range Humans is a movement of people who are breaking out of the idea that your only option if you want to not live on the streets is to A, have a job, or B, plow a lot of money into a startup and just hope it works. And what we're about is the third way between having a job where you're stuck in an office all day answering to someone else, or having a very risky startup which may or may not work out.
Okay. And how did it all start for you? What was the trigger that got you going?
That's a really good question, because I originally graduated and had those experiences where I fell into my first job, which actually most of the people I talk to, tends to be what happens. You get out of university and you think, what am I going to do? And an opportunity comes up and you take it. So I fell into my first job in the music industry, moved to the TV industry, worked for Disney, and then I realized one day I was sitting in my cubicle office in Hammersmith at the Disney head offices, and I realized this wasn't where I wanted to be in 5 years. It wasn't where I wanted to be in 5 days. I realized that the people who had made it were actually not all that happy with their jobs either. And that triggered something, and I started thinking, is this really all that we have to look forward to? And that's when I started exploring.
Okay. And when you say you started exploring, I'm assuming that you didn't arrive at the idea immediately of free-range humans.
Not.
It was an evolution of ideas.
Absolutely. Well, first up, free-range humans helps people escape the corporate cage, and it would be, I guess, quite unethical to make that your first business, because you kind of want to have made money some other way as well. So it certainly wasn't what I ever planned to do with my life. While I was at Disney, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to do some psychometric assessments where we did some personality tests, and what that did was it showed me where I fit in the world. So what was my natural role in the world? Not a job role, not a business role, but where did I fit within a community of people? And that started getting me thinking, right, so all the things I don't like about my job, all the things I used to think I had to be, were actually things that were right for someone else, not for me. And to me, understanding personality gave me that permission to start looking. So I quit my job at Disney when I just couldn't stand being in the cubicle anymore, and I didn't have anything to go to. I ended up picking up a consulting contract back in Australia, because I was working in London at the time. Then I came back to London and made a big career change into consultancy, marketing and management consultancy, working for a startup. And from there, things evolved. I decided to go self-employed, and took a career coaching qualification, helped people write CVs, but then realized that actually I really felt that people would be happier without jobs, and that's when Free Range Humans came up.
I see, okay. And I mean, in terms of revenue streams, where do you, not to be crass, but what's your main revenue stream right now? Is it from affiliate income? Is it from writing? Is it from consulting on how to get?
Great question.
Yeah.
It's right now, the way I've set things up so I can travel the world is that my blog is currently my main income stream. And if you look at if anyone's wondered how people make money from blogs, the answer is pretty simple. It's not usually advertising, and it's not usually affiliate money. It's usually selling your own information product that you've created. So while, for example, for the last 3 months, I've been off the grid. I've been writing my book, How to Be a Free Range Humans, which will come out with Kogan Page in November. Okay. And in that time, I've been earning money without actually delivering work. So people hit my blog, sign up to my email list and have the opportunity to buy several do-it-yourself courses. And that alone is enough to just pay the bills. Then if I run a live event, that will fill up with a whole bunch of people, and again, that will, I earn more now than I did in the management consultant's role, and that's from a blog. So I guess what we want to tell people is that there are a lot of other options out there other than the options that you're being shown at the moment.
Fantastic. And the timeline, how long has it taken you to get to this point?
Within the first 6 months of being self-employed, I was mostly making money from my consulting work in my old field. And that's something I tell people all the time. I've got to be upfront. If you have no experience in a new field, don't expect to get paid for it immediately. However, at the end of my first year, I was earning more per month in self-employed than I had been in a job, and that's not an unusual situation. So I don't say that to show off. I say it to say that is how people can set things up if you start to understand how marketing works and how the online world works.
I see. Impressive. Okay. And for a graduate out there right now watching this, they might be contemplating going for their first graduate job and getting some experience under their belt. Do you think that's a necessary prerequisite to get where you are today, or do you think they should actually just off the bat try and do what you've done if they wish?
There is no normal path to being a free-range human. The people that I work with and the people I interview for my book come from wildly different backgrounds. So a quick example, I interviewed a girl, Emma Reynolds, who started her first business. She'd had a few jobs, but she never graduated from university. She dropped out twice. And she started her first business in the UK and is now running a very successful business in Hong Kong, and is being employed by some of the world's biggest companies to change the way the world works, change the way businesses work. And she didn't even actually graduate. So that's one example. The other end of the scale, you'll have someone like me who graduated, decided to take a job, but had always thought I'd go into an academic role. So I had a highly academic background. And I also have people who actually didn't take their first jobs. You have people make changes at 50, you have people make changes at 22. So I think what I would say to you is right now, go and have a look at what it is that you most want to explore in the world. So if you've always thought, I really want to work for a corporate, you're really attracted to that, which I was, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with going for that. However, if you're thinking you don't really think anything fits, you're not sure if anything's really chiming with you, there is absolutely no reason you can't start something up. Some of the best startups start at a young age.
Right. And what was my next question? In terms of when you are starting out and you're putting up good content on the blog and some stuff you're really proud of, what are the steps to go about attracting traffic, and not just traffic that's going to come through and never come back again, but attract a loyal following, which I think you've done?
Well, that's a really good question. I like that you say get great content, because the very first rule for any website is you have amazing content people want to see or read. Without that, you can forget every other strategy. So I would say absolutely populate your blog or website with some really killer content that you would want to watch and that you would want to see and that people rave about. Secondly, realise the first 6 months of what you do is probably going to be pretty dire. And I say that knowing that from experience.
Yeah.
Mine was.
I've experienced that as well with my blog.
Exactly.
Well.
It's interesting, isn't it? And so don't give up. Know that most people do this sort of on the side while they get something going. So put things out there. Thirdly, once you've got things rolling, make connections with other people. And that's the biggest way that you'll get known. So if you have an opportunity, or actually make your own opportunities, to write guest posts on other websites, that is the single best way to raise your traffic. Because with a guest post, you always have at the end the opportunity to link back to your website. If I give you one thing to do, it would be that. Guest post, definitely.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And the guest posts, is that just about engaging with the blogger and saying, do you mind if I write a guest post?
Well, there's lots of ways of doing it. The first one is, I always say this, no matter what you're doing in business or blogging, I go, remember you're dealing with humans, free range or otherwise, they're all humans. So look at their perspective. There aren't any rules, but look at their blog. Are they taking guest posts? Right now you won't see any on my website, so very unlikely I'm going to take one. However, a lot of other bloggers do. So look at what they've got. Have they taken guest posts? Who have they taken them from? What style do they write in? So determine your guest post potential, firstly. Secondly, I actually would say write the guest post before contacting them. write the guest post and submit the guest post as is, because that way, if you're an unknown quantity, they don't have to worry, oh, will it be good enough? They can read your content. And that would be the very simplest way. And the third way is simply make connections. If you're not ready to do any of this, work out how to meet up with people, go to the events they're going to be at, meet people on Twitter. I've met some of my absolutely best contacts on Twitter. In fact,
Fantastic.
The way I got my book deal was via a contact I'd made on Twitter who had an editor who meant that editor saw me, and then she read my blog and asked me to write a book for them. And that actually happened twice. This is the second time I got the offer. I took this offer rather than the other one. So this is how things happen. You've got to get out there, make connections, and I'd say make them quite selflessly. You don't know where that coffee that you have with someone's going to go. So make it for the reasons that you're interested in them as a person, not that you want them to give you something or to give you exposure.
I see. Okay. And how do you balance, I mean, in terms of your main platform for traffic or traffic generation, would you put it more on SEO or more on Twitter?
I would have absolutely zero idea what to do for SEO, as would pretty much every top blogger that I know. SEO is getting harder and harder to do simply because Google is getting smarter and smarter. So if right now you're thinking of doing a blog, I would say the first thing to do is forget about SEO, and simply the one rule is make sure that everything you write, the blog format that you have, is something that is actual words. It's not like some JPEG picture. It's not a flash website that Google can't see. It's actual words. And write content for humans. And then the only SEO thing that you really need to focus on at the early stages is getting links from other websites back. Best way to do that? Guest post.
Okay, very good. And then, yes, you've mentioned the fact that guest posts are very, very important.
Yeah.
If you were to sort of give us two other, incredible tools that helped you get to where you are right now, what would they be?
There's something in the book that I outline called the free range fast start, and that's just a fancy term that I give because I saw a theme as I was interviewing people and meeting people who'd managed to create their own platform to let them live wherever they wanted, and they had made connections with other people in a very specific way that you could almost track, would be almost identical, and most of them were done unconsciously, so I put into a process and gave it a name. And the fast start in a nutshell is essentially identifying where your base of people, where your niche are hanging out. So if you are, doing a website on dog training for a certain type of person, where is that person already looking for that very same information that you're giving out? Or where is that person looking for a more generic version of that information? Maybe they're hanging out, you're doing it for beagles, maybe they're hanging out on the generic puppy website. So write a post for that generic puppy website, hang out on that forum, look at where those opportunities are. So an example for me would be, when I was starting out, the thing that shot me up really fast was that I consciously made a connection with a very big career organisation that was in London. I started writing for them, I started talking to them, and through my connections with them, I ended up getting paid to run their workshops when actually there were career coaches around the UK lining up to do it for free. And if I just bumbled in and said, hey, let me run your workshops, they would say, who the hell are you? So by actually listening to people and taking the time to go for coffee with them, that fast start was able to happen because I was essentially then tapping into a base of people that were already there. The slowest thing to do is go and pick off people one by one and try to get them. Look at where they are already, make connections with that organisation or that person, and that's the very fastest thing you could do.
Right. Tell us a bit more about your book. What's the title? What's it about, just in a few words? And most importantly, when's it coming out? It
is How to Be a Free-Range Human. It's published by Kogan Page. It will be out in November this year in the UK. In December it will be out in the US and will be on Kindle worldwide. The very best way to hear about it when it's launching is to go to my website, which is free-range-humans.com. Sign up for the email list on the right-hand column of the website, and you'll be kept in the loop about what's going on. There's a heap of free stuff, and it's going to be really awesome. We're doing some unusual stuff with extra audios and all this really cool technology stuff, so it's way more than a book.
Nice. Yeah. And then other ways to get in contact with you, what's your Twitter
It's at Free
handle?
Range Humans.
Perfect.
And you can get the Facebook page as facebook.com/freerangehumans, because I like to be predictable.
There we are. Thanks very much
Thank
again
you
for
very much.
joining me today.